Okay, this meeting should not be long. This is our fourth meeting of the year. But there were a few things that we need to discuss for the end of year. So thanks to all of you for joining this afternoon. Chris Bain is here with me in my office. She won't get on the camera, but she's here. The first thing we need to discuss is our sexual health awareness program for 22-23. As you all know, we did the Aim for Success program this past year. It was, we thought, very successful in the surveys that we received back from the students and the parents. However, our one problem, or one thing we were not, we were a little bit disappointed in, was the participation, since it has changed to where they have to opt in instead of opting out. So I did contact the Just Say Yes organization that has this program to talk about just what they had available for next year and to look at some possible dates. And they suggested, since we had already had the first program, their next program that they would offer would be called Determined to Succeed. Again, it would be a 6th grade program, which would be specifically for them. I did compare it. This is an outline of their program. I did compare it to last year's. There are a few differences where they talk about teen pregnancy and STDs. That's the same. They did talk about that last year. Pressures and influences is a different kind of category. What they talked about last year was emotional hurts and sexting. And so you can see they added hormones, biology, sexual abusers, beware of those, peer pressure, media, addiction, and drugs and alcohol. Those were added to the 6th grade program. So it's a little bit different than the program that the 6th graders had last year. Does anyone have any questions on that one before I move to the next one? The 7th grade program is 7th through 12th grade program is also a little bit different. The teen pregnancy and STDs, last year that was teen pregnancy and contraception. So they've changed a little bit to just deal with pregnancy and STDs. Contraception is not a part of it as it was last year. Then they have this category, pressures and influences. Sexual abuse was they had that last year. STDs, they moved up here to this section. Emotional hurts, that's kind of in this same area right here. Sexting, they still include. Setting boundaries was an area they talked about last year. So you'll see that they added addiction, drugs and alcohol, media, peer pressure, and hormones and biology to the 7th through 12th grade program. So there are quite a few changes. So with that being said, I feel like, and I've talked to Chris and also talked to Valerie about it. I feel like it's enough difference from the program last year that we would need to go through the process of having the parent nights again at each campus to give anyone an opportunity to come up and ask questions. I think it's enough difference that we can't get by with saying that we're offering the same program, because there are quite a few differences. Any feedback on that?
Is there an open house at the beginning of the year, or a time when the parents all come?
Yes, we're going to have open house events again this year. At this point, yes, we are, unless something changes.
Okay, so maybe we could present it.
That might be a way to, we tried at the junior high in connection with their book fair and a PTO meeting. So I think that's why we had more participation at the junior high than we did at the high school, but still not a lot of participation. Maybe if we did the same thing we did at that event, we had a separate table that they could come to and ask questions. We had this same paper to give to the parents if they had any questions. But I think they felt better just even after getting the piece of paper and talking to us. So we could have a a table or an area they could come and visit with us if they chose to.
Could it be presented to the board? Does it have to go to the board again?
Mhm.
And we could do that over the summer and have that in place before August gets here?
We have to have those parent meetings first.
Oh, okay. So the parent meetings first and then the,
So if we had the parent meetings in at the beginning of school in August, we could take it to the board the first part of September. Then we would need to have the 2 weeks
to get permission.
to get permission slips up, because you have to have 2 weeks before the program to get the permission slips in.
Mhm.
So it would be tight, but we could still possibly have the program in late September, maybe, or early October, which I still think would be more beneficial than spring.
Right. I do too.
Kathy and Chris, what was and I'm sorry, I'm just getting caught up in probably a question I should have asked earlier. Was there a rub with the other program? Was there something that parents didn't like? Was there something that you feel like participation was low?
No, I think it was with the new requirements, there was a little bit of confusion. So we were going to have it in the fall. We weren't able to because we realized we had not followed all those steps.
Right.
So I think that was a little bit confusing, plus the change that they have to opt in instead of opting out. We think that was a little hindrance.
Mhm.
Valerie has some
Of course. Yeah.
Valerie has some ideas to, if we're sending out, and you're supposed to tell parents at the beginning that you're going to offer some kind of program. You can, we thought about doing it, the permission slips at the beginning of the year, so that parents are used to signing things anyway. And so maybe we'll get more parent participation that way, rather than in January, we're asking them to sign something.
Sure.
And Kathy, is there a disconnect? Like parents might opt in, but does the child necessarily know that they've been opt in, and then they're told to go down to the auditorium? Like maybe, like promoting it with the kids so they know, like, oh,
We can do a better job at that. I think the high school was the worst on participation.
Mhm.
And there's just a different way of thinking.
Right.
People are more opt to pick no. I think they've got more and more where they don't want to be made to do anything. And if they have an option to pick no, they're going to pick no.
Sure.
So maybe I think the ideas that Kathy has about trying to push the signature forms at the beginning of the year and getting it approved and.
Completely agree. I think that's a
Yeah.
great idea from both Kathy, Chris, everybody. Yeah.
are you allowed to offer like any kind of incentives, like in the sense of students who participate in it and stay and go are going to get released early, like after it's over or something like that? If it was like towards the end of the day.
Maybe like if they did it before lunch and they got a few extra minutes for lunch.
Yeah.
That might be. I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't thought about anything like that.
They
And
do that with some stuff.
Yeah.
Sounds great, Amy. I'm going to send Parker to you. A lot of questions.
I mean, those are things we can look into to try to get participation. It wasn't bad at junior high. I
Yeah.
mean, there's still some that we could have picked up,
Oh,
but
yeah.
high school was by far the
Mhm.
lower participation than what we would have liked. So we want to work on that for sure.
And maybe Valerie could promote it during the summer, and messages out to parents, and maybe we can put something in the paper that people can sit down and read about it.
So I did ask that we be able to have the same presenter as we did last year, because the kids loved him. That was evident in the surveys. He did a great job of presenting the material in a very matter of fact, but he was also fun with it. So I don't think the kids felt overwhelmed or embarrassed about anything. He had just a very unique way of presenting the material. So I have asked for him again, and they said that they could make that happen. So I guess with that being said, if it's okay with the committee, if everyone agrees, we will proceed with the parent meetings and the whole process again, just to make sure we're doing things right and so we can have some dates earlier in the fall this year. Does anyone object to that? Okay. Next thing is update on mental health training. Amy, I know this is one area that you've done some work and research on. And I know we've talked about it before, but can you just briefly tell what that looks like on the primary campus as y'all went through that mental health training this past year?
We did sign up for the youth mental health training to be a first aid kind of training that the West Texas Center's MHMR has trainers who come and facilitate the training, and it's a day long. Actually, no, part of it is it's a hybrid. It's part of it you do online, a few hours of it, and then the remainder of it is a face-to-face, I believe 5 hours training, and just how to respond to suicidal ideation, picking up symptoms and signs of depression, anxiety. It's not for treating a person, like you're having to be a counselor, but just how to respond compassionately, and then how to go about getting them help. So that was a training we went through, I guess back in January or February. And of course, for junior high and high school, they touch on a lot of the things that are going on with kids with the uptick in mental health issues. So it was good training. A lot of people, even just with their personal, people that they know personally, their own, children, nieces, nephews. I mean, it's just training that can help you navigate and have a better understanding of mental health and what to do and what to look for to help somebody.
And Amy has been very good to communicate with me throughout the year. The other campuses have expressed an interest in getting mental health training for their teachers, because we understand we have a lot of students with a lot of issues, especially since COVID. We do have the opportunity to partner with Texas Tech University. It's through a program that they have. They will actually come in and help train the teachers on mental health. And they take it a step farther in that they will come in and I don't know all about the program. I've just talked to one representative about it. All we have is just an understanding with them. They provide everything, the training, it's free. They will also go a step farther in that if we have students that have other issues, so let's say a student is a diabetic, but they're not
Controlled.
They're having trouble getting into a doctor, or they just don't know how to go about getting a doctor to help them. The school, it'll have to be a designated person on the campus because they'll only let a certain number of people make the call. But with the parents' permission, they can actually make the call to Texas Tech. Hey, this student is a diabetic, is needing some medical attention, and they will actually get a doctor to have a televisit or do whatever they need to do to help that student. So it's not just mental health training and help for us with that area, but they will also help establish some medical attention for students that need that. Totally free. And Dr. Bland has agreed to sign that memorandum of understanding. So I haven't followed up with them yet to see what that process is going to look like, but we're hoping to have the rest of our teachers trained in mental health training during our professional development days in August. So I think that will be good. Amy, I know you've been trained, but if you have teachers on your campus that missed it last year, we can also follow through with them and we can get it through Tech as well. I think that'll be good in a lot of areas, not just
Definitely.
mental health for sure. That is one area we know everyone can benefit from the training, but also to get some medical care for students who may not be able to get it otherwise.
Mhm.
Any questions on that? I'll let y'all know as soon as I find out more about that program and how it's going to work. All right, and Dylan is going to get on to talk about our venue advisory committee.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think most of y'all know me. My name is Dylan Randolph. I'm the Director of Food Service here for SFE and at Snyder. So recently, we just had a food service audit, and one of the things that they want us to get in place is a menu advisory board. And so a solution to that is just to include it with the SHAC committee. And I know we're at the end of the school year. I just wanted to get on and get everyone thinking and let everyone know that we'll be doing it next year. If y'all ever hear any feedback or have any feedback or concerns or anything like that, you can always just bring it to this meeting and we can talk about it and help us come up with solutions or things like that. I know we're pretty much, with tomorrow being the end of the year, there's not a whole lot to discuss, but is there any questions or anything from anybody today?
Dylan, it's Chris.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know we've got a student that's going to start this fall at the high school that's going to be on a gluten-free diet.
I talked to Sandra about that actually.
Okay.
If we could, I'll go ahead and get with CNOPS, but if we could eventually just get a medical statement on file, we'll get a whole separate menu, a gluten-free menu made for that student. Our CNOPS department can do that.
Okay, so they make it like on a daily basis. They don't order gluten-free food and have it ready to.
We'll have the ingredients and we can make a gluten-free option every day for that student.
Okay, okay. Is there a place on there? I think there is this place on Skyward where when parents are registering their kids for school, that they can go to a cafeteria section and check if they're allergic to anything or have food preferences.
I'm not sure about that in registration. I do know, I think it was you that got me that list that had all the allergies and stuff like that. So I've gone to the nurses and got lists from them, but I don't know exactly how that gets put into Skyward. And I don't have access to that on my Skyward. I go to the nurse's office to get that.
Okay, I thought originally there was supposed to be something where they,
It should be in the allergy and medical.
Yeah, I believe when an allergy is checked that would affect food service, Dylan, are you manually putting those in? Because I know that when a student is checking, you're getting a red flag if they've got some type of allergy.
Yeah,
Right.
it pops up on our screen.
Yeah.
so where does the parent go to do that? Is that part of Skyward registration?
It should be.
But that's on the health tab. Is there a cafeteria tab that they check on?
I don't think that there is, Chris, but I don't want to tell you yes or no without having a correct answer. Dylan, can you actually? I can check on that in the cafeteria tab. But if it's in there, Chris, I don't know that the parent goes to that tab during registration. Valerie, do you know the answer to that question if you're available? I know you're in a couple of different places right now.
Yeah, trying to get to a quiet place. I don't know. I do think it's covered in the health tab, if I remember correctly from a parent perspective, but we'll definitely look into that.
Okay, because I know we can see it. It'll pop up that they've got a health issue, but it should be visible. I mean, if I don't mind printing a list off, but if it's available to go directly to the cafeteria section, we need to get them to utilize that. Don't you think?
Yes, we'll look into that.
I think we all think that would be a great idea because if we're running reports and then manually entering based on that, there's a strong likelihood, or not a strong likelihood, a greater chance of human error.
Exactly.
Whereas the parent putting their own child's allergies in would automatically populate and remove that chance.
On Dylan's end, right?
Okay, that's one thing we'll all check on. Okay. All right, anything else, Dylan?
Not that I can think of. I just wanted to go ahead and get on once before this year ended and get everyone to thinking and know that we would be doing this next year.
Okay, and is there a time that you would need to have that when school starts, so we'll know how to set the next meeting?
The menus are already gonna be made through October, and so just during the first meeting, we can pretty much, I guess, get feedback then, and then that'll help making those menus for the second part of the first semester.
Okay, so as long as we had the meeting in late August, early September, you'd be good?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay,
We're so glad, Dylan, that you're with us and that you're in charge of this. You're awesome.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Chris.
Well, echo that, Chris.
I'm glad
Amen.
to be here too.
Yes.
I'm really glad to be here.
all right. Does anyone have anything else before we close? Do you need to?
Oh, I can submit the vision and hearing report. We did the end of the year report for required vision and hearing screening and scoliosis. And we submitted that to the state, and we're giving Kathy a copy to give to our administration to keep on record.
All right. Anything else from anyone before we finish today? Okay, I will send out at the beginning of the year a calendar invite for our first meeting. And Dylan, I'll be sure and include the menu advisory on the agenda.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you all so much for your help this year.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Y'all have a good afternoon.
You too.